Hello and welcome to A Winning Approach to Employee Success. Excited for you to join our live session here and to walk you through how technology is enabling employee success. My name is Luke Stritt and I am our Head of Product Marketing at Quantum Workplace, also our Chief Product Evangelist, and I'm excited to share with you what we are doing at Quantum Workplace to help drive employee success today and a little bit about our technology. Before I do that, a little bit about myself. I've been at Quantum Workplace for the last 6 years, helping shape and guide our product through working on our product teams and now product marketing. Before that, I spent 10 years in corporate HR, helping organizations improve HR practices. I got the opportunity to work for a global insurance carrier and also a global manufacturing environment. So I've seen two completely different organizations, but also had an opportunity to do a PHR, a CCP, and an MBA. And so excited to share both some of those things and that experience with you today. Today we're going to talk about employee success, and we define employee success in 3 ways at Quantum Workplace. We partner with our customers on helping improve employee engagement, and that's really through listening to our employees and helping with the voice of the employee. The second area is helping improve and modernizing the performance culture, really helping drive solid performance management practices. And then lastly, helping connect engagement data with performance data and ultimately to business data. Because we know that if we can't tell the business success story, it's really hard to guide investments in employee success. Some of you may not be aware about who Quantum Workplace is, and so I want to share with you a little bit about what our customers say about us. Our customers say we're the most reliable solution for employee success, and really in 4 areas they talk about our reliability. The first area is our reliable expertise. We've been collecting engagement data for nearly 20 years. We collect engagement data across 12,000 companies every year, 1.3 million employee surveys, and it's really a research engine for us to understand what a winning culture looks like. And then we help our customers understand that and implement those strategies. We have a team of insights experts. These people are former HR professionals or experts in IO psychology, and they really help drive strategies for your organization and partner with your organization. The second area, reliable service. We have a 79-point NPS rating from our customers, and that's 30 points higher than the industry average. Every customer gets a dedicated customer success manager, so they know who they're working with. That's going to help them drive adoption, drive usage and value in our products. We also provide service to every frontline employee. So all of your users, if they have problems with their passwords or setting goals or launching a one-on-one, they actually contact us versus your HR department. Third, we have a reliable technology, and our customers actually go further than that. Not only are we reliable when they need to use us, but they also say things like we're very employee-centric. Because we understand the employee experience and the employee voice, we've built a platform that is very employee-centric. They call us agile, flexible, and refreshing. And then lastly, we help with reliable results. Our account managers and our data science team are really helping connect that employee success data with your business success data so that we can help tie those results and the employee initiatives to where you're going. This year, HBR did a study on HR leaders, and they asked over thousands of HR leaders what were they thinking around employee success. And here were some of the results of that HBR Analytics Service study. 81% of those HR leaders, and many of you may be on this call today, strongly agree that highly engaged employees perform better. 72% strongly agree that highly engaged employees have happy customers. So if we know employees perform better, and we know that our customers are happy when they're engaged, the kicker is only 37% said that they have a significant area of focus on engagement. So only 1/3 of our organizations are actually making that a key strategic item that the organization's focused on. That seems like a problem. And we know that there's other business results that are being impacted by this. We know that when employees are highly engaged, they talk more about our brand. They talk better about our brand. They defend our employment brand. We also know that there's turnover or retention metrics that get better by highly engaged. One of our Insights team members, Dr. Shane McFeely, did a recent study, and I should mention that somewhere on the sides here, we have moderators. Jocelyn, Nicole, Graydon, Libby are going to be posting in some links during our talk. But our 2020 Engagement Trends Report is just being published this week, and Dr. Shane McFeely put a lot of time and energy in helping us understand how to connect turnover and retention to the engagement data. We had 26 customers and over 600,000 employees where we had really good data on both turnover and engagement. And this is what he found when he did that analysis, is that there is a direct correlation between engagement levels and turnover rates. When we look at this chart, specifically at the top, the 90-day turnover rate, on the far left is the turnover rate of those employees that were highly disengaged, and on the far right are the employees that were highly engaged. And we see that there was over three times more likely that somebody would turn over in the first 90 days if they were identified as highly disengaged. And you see that trend play out even throughout the year. At 365 days, they're still 2 times more likely to turn over. This makes sense. This is why we invest so much time and energy and money into onboarding programs and helping employees assimilate into our culture, is because we know that we're more likely to retain them. We know that there's direct business impact there. You may be asking yourself, though, like, how do we take this insight and drive action? Well, going back to that HBR study and the HR leaders, the top 3 things that they said were barriers to getting value when making an investment in an employee engagement or performance management platform, they said were, first, managers don't know how to have effective development conversations. Well, I'm excited to show you how Quantum Workplace is helping managers have better developmental conversations and really better communication with their employees. 2, 32% said that employees and performance management systems and processes are not connected. Many companies in this space, many vendors in this space have built platforms where they've cobbled together acquisitions, and so they haven't built it from the ground up. Well, at Quantum Workplace, we've actually built it a very organic platform where both the employee engagement and measurement systems talk really well to performance management systems, and we'll take a peek at that today too in our Insights portion. And lastly, employees don't feel ownership over their performance processes. And can we blame them? I mean, over the last 2 or 3 decades, we've done a lot to systematize and to control performance management, and a lot of that has taken ownership away from employees and managers. And so part of what we're trying to do at Quantum Workplace is give power back to those employees and those managers. When they want to have a one-on-one, they can launch it. When they want to have feedback, they can go get it. So we're going to start our demo phase off now, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the engagement practice. So let's jump in. All right, now what we're looking at here is our live production environment, and I'm logging in as Roger Richardson. So we are in a live browser here. If you have questions about the technology, if you have questions about our service, if you have questions about anything, feel free to chat those in throughout the presentation. Because we are live, I will be answering those towards the end. And we also have moderators that will be helping answer those. So first, we're going to talk about engagement. And engagement is really about the surveys, hearing from our employees, and understanding their voice. Now, I'm logged in as a Vice President of Sales, Roger Richardson. He has a team of employees that report up to him, and we'll have some interactions with those team members today. But what we're going to also look at is surveys. Now, Roger has some admin capabilities around launching surveys. When I click into surveys, there's a couple things I want to point out. For many vendors, surveys is just about the engagement survey or a pulse on engagement items. We see engagement experience much broader, that there are many different topics and many different groups of employees that you may want to survey. And so we equip you to be able to survey them really about anything at any time, and we want you to be able to launch these surveys in 5 minutes or less. We want to equip you to not have to be burdened by this launching process. And so there's 3 different types of surveys you can launch. You can launch these single surveys, which can be really about any topic. It can be a pulse of your engagement items. It can be set up very quickly. You can launch automated surveys, which these are more life cycle surveys. Think about them like an onboarding survey at the 90-day mark, or maybe an exit survey. You can also launch a full engagement survey right from within the platform. And this is maybe more of something you do one time a year where you want to understand across a best practice survey, you want to do it across benchmarked items, and you want to have more of an initiative around it. When I click continue here, we're going to see a library of best practice templates. Now, I had mentioned we have, reliable expertise, and we have this insights team of former HR professionals and experts in IO psychology. Well, they get together and talk a lot about what are the best questions we can ask employees about different topics for our customers. And so you get access to these best practice templates, and this is consistently being updated. You'll see one down here to the bottom right, that is the flexible workplace reopening survey. We've recently added a psychological safety survey and a D&I survey. But you can also create your own survey. If you have your own questions that you like to use, you can launch them. For this example, I'm just going to jump in here and we'll use this template. All of these templates are also configurable. You can edit, you can remove questions, and so it's really just a starting point for you. So we're going to launch this Q4 diversity and inclusion survey. I'll mention here, our engagement survey, we support over 50 languages. So for you global organizations out there and you need multiple languages support, we got you covered. We actually support 30 plus languages in our pulse surveys, and so we can really support those global organizations. You have some configurations that you can make here around confidentiality or attributed surveys. When I click next, it's going to take me in to look at that survey design. I can, again, edit these questions. I can add new questions. But here's where I think one of the things that's the most important is how will employees access the survey? And so we support multiple different industries in the fact that employees can access the survey multiple different ways. Most of our employees access the survey with an email invite. But if you have Slack, if the employee downloads our mobile app, they'll get a push notification on their phone. If you have a manufacturing environment, you can have people log in with an employee ID or a unique code. And so we're really able to get the survey invites to those employees where they're at. You can also easily select employees based off of any demographic. One of the cool things that I think we've done is we provide free to every subscription of our product an HRIS integration. We want to make an ease of use to be able to launch surveys to specific departments or specific locations. And so by us connecting into your HRIS system, we can have all that ready for you. And it's also all automatic for your analytics then. So it's super robust. We also provide free SSO for all customers as well. So once I pick the employees I want, I click next. I confirm when I want this survey to launch. We'll just say, 12:30 today. I can confirm when I want reminders to go out and when that survey closes. And when I'm ready, I launch this survey. So again, within 5 minutes or less, I can launch this Q4 D&I survey out to the whole workforce or a subset of the population. We really want to remove that administrative burden for you to be able to hear from your employees regularly. The next thing I want to talk about is how to share data out to the organization. These surveys are out, the data's coming in, and as an HR team member, you can see the results. As an admin, you can see these results real time as they're coming in. But how do you get that data out to the people and out to your managers? And so I'm going to jump into the 2020 annual engagement survey here. And a couple things you'll see as we load in here. We're going to come into our overview report, which is going to have some really good information for a manager to understand within a few minutes how is engagement on their team. But the first thing I want to point out too is manager analytics. We give you full control over when and how managers get access to the data. So when I click this manager analytics, I can choose what data do they get access to, what specific reports can they see, and when do I want them to have access. All at a fingertip. Because we're plugged into your HRIS system, we know the hierarchy of the organization. We know who reports to who and who should see what data. And so I can schedule that launch. And now, on that date and that time, managers will get an email letting them know that they can access the engagement data. I mentioned our overview report is designed specifically to help managers understand their engagement results. I see my overall favorability of our team. This is employees that answered strongly agree or agree to the questions. I see response rate and how many of my team members answered this survey. But as I scroll down, I see the make an impact items. And these are the items that have the highest impact on employee engagement based off of our statistical correlations. And so one of the things as a manager I can do is I can look at my lowest scoring item. I know how I fit into the organization's future plans. And 4 out of 10 of my employees feel like they have a good understanding. This is something that maybe I want to take a mental note on to follow up on. At the bottom, if managers want to get deeper into the results, they can see all questions that were asked on the survey. They can review comments if you've given them access to comments. As an admin, maybe you want to look at a heat map across the organization to forage for insight. Let's jump into the overall results. A couple things I wanted to point out here is all of your filters and slices are available because we're tied into your HRIS system. So not only are you able to filter and slice on key things like department or location, but if you're using the performance side of our platform, we'll also have some performance demographics automatically available for you. As I scroll down this report, maybe I want to sort the results, and I see this high impact item. I know I fit into the organization's future plans. Well, we've taken it a step further. No longer do you have to print out the engagement reports to write to take notes on, but there's light bulbs over here where I can take notes. I can create a highlight of this, and it saves that highlight so that I can come back and see what notes I took. You know what? I want to add a question to my next one-on-ones for all of my direct reports, and I know how I fit into the organization's future plans. What's really cool about this is anybody that has access to this area of the organization to see my team, maybe an upline manager, maybe I'm my HR business partner, they can also add highlights. They can also see the highlights that others have created. And so we can collaborate in-app to take our notes and access. The last thing I'm going to say about the surveys side here is it's really important to be able to share surveys to the right people at the right time. You may have an onboarding committee, and if I go in here and I look at our onboarding results, that committee may not be managers. That committee may be a few individual contributors, cross-functional, but you want to give them access to all of the results here because they're talking about and they're making decisions on how to improve that onboarding experience. We know that if we can impact it, it's 3 times more likely that someone will stay versus leave if they're disengaged. Well, on any of these reports, I can share analytics with any user. So I can say, you know what, Holly from our IT team, our UX developer, she is on our onboarding committee, and I want to give her access to these results. Now, Holly just got an email that says you can access the onboarding 60-day survey. She can get in here and do the analysis to prepare for that meeting. And so we think it's really important to be able to launch and get employee feedback easily, that you can share reports out to managers easily, but then also you can share the analytics with those who need it and collaborate to help make good decisions. If you want to know more about the engagement piece, the surveys piece, in the chat right now, there's a link to be able to sign up and talk with one of our experts at Quantum Workplace. All right, let's talk about our next area, which is performance. Performance is a passion of mine. In a number of the organizations I worked in, performance and the performance technology was something that I led, and I always found that it came up short. A lot of the legacy performance providers, we were able to innovate and grow on because I had experience with them, implementing them and seeing the shortfalls that when I came to Quantum Workplace, I was able to help solve some of those problems and really make it more agile and push more power to the employees and make it continuous to really drive those growth-based conversations. So let's jump in here and we'll take a peek at the performance side of the product. All right, so we're going to go back to our home screen. And again, I'm logged in as Roger Richardson. Now, we know that with COVID and the times that we're in, it's really important that we help our managers do well in a remote environment. And so having a really strong and robust performance technology is important. We want for people to have a really good experience with our performance culture. And so Roger logs in here. And the first thing I want to point out is this news feed. So we're helping Roger see what's happening across the organization. We're not just doing that in the application here. Roger can have this on his phone. So if one of his team members is recognized, he can get a push notification to know that his direct report was recognized. We also push into Slack, so he's being notified in multiple areas. But I can filter into my direct reports here and scroll down and get up to date on what recognition have my employees received. I can like and comment on that recognition just to give that social experience. We know that a key driver of engagement is if I do great work, am I recognized? And by being able to like and comment on the recognition, it shows Zane that he's seen and valued. The other thing is I can see goal updates. So I can see when my direct reports are making updates and what updates are they making, and I can like and comment on those updates as well. This helps drive more accountability and more motivation around making goal updates when people know that they're seen. A couple other things I'm going to point out here on the homepage is I can easily access the performance snapshot of any of my direct reports. So again, if I want to focus on Zane specifically, I can see the recognition Zane has received. I can see the goals that he's working on and the progress on each one of his goals. I can see the feedback, and we're going to actually talk a little bit more about this feedback in one-on-ones, but I can open that feedback and look specifically at the feedback that he's received. I can see his one-on-ones and the one-on-ones we've had. I can open those up and remind myself. I can take private notes on Zane. This is just for myself as his manager. If there's coaching notes, if there's personal notes that I want to take and be able to remind myself in those one-on-ones. But one of the cool things we're doing at Quantum Workplace is we've reinvented talent reviews. Sometimes you might think of this as a 9-box, but we help managers know how to coach and guide their employees through these next generation talent reviews, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. But as a manager, I can be asked 3 simple questions, and I can answer these questions every 90 days about my direct reports. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes per direct report, and it's a really healthy exercise for me to prepare for one-on-ones as a manager. But I answer questions like, how is Zane doing on his performance impact? Would I want to keep him on my team due to his performance? How is his growth trajectory with the organization? Is he growing? Is he good in the role he's in? And then, is he at risk of loss? As a manager, am I seeing signs that he might leave us? And then based off of my ratings, it's giving me some coaching. Zane's in our recognize and retain quadrant. He has moderate to high performance. He's on a moderate growth path, and we should be recognizing and retaining him. The other thing I want to point out here is I can see this on an individual level with Zane, but I can also go look at my full team. So if I want to look at the talent reviews that I've done for each of my team members, I can see where my team falls. On the bottom left here, I'm seeing maybe the team members that I need to coach and guide to higher performance or out of the organization. These are people that maybe in my one-on-ones that I'm preparing for, I need to have, make sure I'm setting clear performance expectations. On the bottom right, again, that's the recognize and retain quadrant. The top right is our stretch and grow. You're not seeing a 9-box here, you're actually seeing 4 quadrants, and really this helps in a couple ways. We pull out the central tendency area that you see with traditional 9-boxing. We also help minimize the number of areas you're coaching managers to coach to. So instead of saying, here's the 9 different ways to coach employees based on how they fall in that 9-box, we're actually coaching to 4 primary categories. We'll talk a little bit more about talent reviews here in a little bit, but I wanted to give a preview while we were here. The last thing I want to say is we are heavily integrated into other products. And so we want to show up where your users are. And so we have a Chrome extension, we have a Slack extension, we have Outlook extensions, and all of those are to help engage your employees in where they're working. Okay, so let's move up, and we're actually going to talk about one-on-ones first. And we know that getting clarity around goals, aligning around performance expectations. On our 2020 Trends Report, Dr. Shane found that you're 2.8 times more likely to be engaged in an employee if you have clarity around the performance expectations. And so as an organization, you can mass launch one-on-ones. So here we've got an example. There's 3 one-on-ones that Roger has to do, 2 for direct reports, 1 for his manager. And so you can do that on quarterly, you can do that on an annual basis, and those are those more structured, controlled conversations that you want to have throughout the organizations. But we're seeing more and more organizations move to this more continuous approach to performance, and any employee can actually start their own one-on-one. A couple things I want to point out here is I can start a one-on-one with anyone in the organization. I can do it with a mentor that's maybe outside of my org structure, or I can do it with any of my direct reports or my manager. So let's say I want to have a one-on-one with Zane. As an organization, you can have some best practice templates. We can encourage goals conversations, performance improvement, maybe career development conversations. We also know that employees are 2.5 times more likely to be engaged if they feel like the organization is investing in their career development. And the best way to do that is through having healthy one-on-ones with those employees. In this example, we're going to do a lightweight check-in where maybe we're just going to build a lightweight agenda on what we need to talk about. What do we need to get aligned on? I can add a date and time. If I do this, it'll send out a calendar invite. I can also make it recurring, weekly, bi-weekly. In a remote world, it's helpful to have a video meeting link. So if we have a GoTo or Zoom account or a Teams account, we can add our link in here. When I create this one-on-one, there's a couple things that happen. First thing, Zane's notified. He gets an email that says his manager's launched a one-on-one with him. But a couple things I can see here is I want to give this one-on-one a boost. This is extremely important to individualize the one-on-one experience, especially in a continuous performance management system, because too often one-on-ones get to be ubiquitous. They're the same across the organization. But in order for us to drive value, I need to talk about what's meaningful between Zane and myself. And so I can see some things that are happening. Zane received feedback from his peers 4 days ago on things that he's excelling in and things that he can work on. Let's talk about it in this one-on-one. I can also see Zane's goals here, when they were updated, when they were created. He has a goal here that we haven't discussed yet that was created 3 weeks ago. So I want to pull that into this one-on-one. We actually learned this from learning and development in schools. You know, it's called differentiated learning strategies when you have a classroom of students or a classroom of learners, and each learner learns differently, and you want to change the way in which you're helping them learn different by different students. Well, we want differentiated one-on-one strategies so that we can tailor our one-on-one to what's going to be effective between this relationship. Another thing I'm going to point out here is that performance snapshot is available right within the one-on-one. I can open it up. I can copy things that I want to put into the one-on-one. I can add goals. I can look at the feedback and the one-on-ones that we've had prior. And again, I can access those talent reviews right from within. And at any point, I can actually update a talent review. So if something that came out of this one-on-one, I want to update the performance impact, I want to update growth trajectory or retention risk, I can do that real time. As I scroll down this one-on-one, I just want to point out that that feedback that Zane received got pulled right into this one-on-one. And again, you'll see these light bulbs that we saw over in surveys, where we can annotate this feedback together. Feedback is hard to consume, especially on your own. But as a manager, I can say, hey, you know what? I saw this positive feedback of where you're dominated. And I want you to know I see you. Down here below, I can see areas where maybe where Zane got some tougher feedback on where he could grow. And I could say, you know what are your thoughts on growing your relationships internally? Do you agree with this? Should we set a developmental goal? And then once I feel good about this, I can share this with Zane. We'll take a quick peek at a one-on-one that's further along where both employee and manager have shared, and maybe what a rating scale question looks like in that one-on-one. But at any point in the one-on-one, I can actually download this to take it to a meeting. It's available in our native mobile app for iOS or Apple or Android, and I can take this to take notes on. Another thing you'll notice is that under each question is the opportunity to have threaded dialogue. What we've learned is that when you get together to talk about what's happened in your one-on-one, that usually you focus on areas where there's misalignment or where decisions need to be made. And it's great to track those decisions that you make or the things that you talked about after that meeting. And so you can put those in, and then when you're ready, you can finalize that one-on-one. Now, if you have questions on one-on-ones, chat them in now. Our product manager, Graydon Hudson's in and moderating the chat, and so he'll answer those questions for you. Next up, feedback. Now, when we think of feedback, I want you to think about many to one, like 180 feedback, upward feedback, 360 feedback. You can really have any sort of organizational feedback type of template that you want. and launch that from our system. And as an HR team, you can control some of that feedback. So if you have a structured 360 program, you can launch those out. But as an employee, I'm also empowered. We know that when employees view the organization as treating them with respect, they're 4 times more likely to be engaged. And so by giving them empowerment here to be able to give feedback or request feedback, they can go get it. They feel empowered. They feel respected. I can request feedback for myself or one of my direct reports, or actually request feedback for myself in this example. I can pick from a best practice template. These are controlled by your team, and we'll give you some best practice templates, but you can create any sort of feedback template that it matches your culture. You can also permission them to certain areas of the organization. So your sales teams may be getting certain types of feedback. Your operations teams may be getting other feedback. Maybe you have a start, stop, continue framework that you're teaching everybody about on how to get feedback. When I click next, it's going to ask me who I want to give me feedback. Again, I can pick any user of the platform to give me feedback, but what's really cool about this is it's not just limited to users of your feedback. I can actually invite anybody with a valid email address, and they're added as an outside voice. And so think about this: freelancers, contractors, customers. If I'm a customer-facing role, maybe I want feedback from those customers. I can give this a title. I can give some instructions and why I'm wanting this feedback. And then when I'm ready, I click next. It allows me to review it and submit those feedback requests. Now, Holly and our outside voice both got an email saying that I'm requesting their feedback. Let's go look at a feedback that's a little bit further along here. And we'll look at a little bit more robust feedback, a 360 feedback. So one thing you'll notice about this feedback is there's rater groups. We have manager, peers, direct reports. Again, because we're tied directly into your HRIS system, we know who the peers are, we know who the direct reports are, so they can be auto-invited. We also have a self-rating. A couple things I want to point out here is if you ask this feedback over time, we can show how that employee scored and provide them feedback. Are they growing or are they not in that specific competency or skill? We can also open up and read comments. Now back to my HR days, one of the biggest things that troubled me was in 360s, and I think it troubles a lot of you too, is that a lot of times somebody gives feedback in an anonymous way, and that feedback is dead. I have to do something with it as a receiver, and I don't know what to do with it if it's not specific, if it's somebody that didn't provide an example. Well, we allow you to actually add replies to anonymous feedback providers. So I can actually add a reply to this and say, you know what, this was tough feedback, but thank you for giving it to me. I didn't know that. Or I could say, hey, you know what, this wasn't actually detailed enough. Maybe I want more details. Could you provide a specific example? That person gets an email that says, hey, you're still anonymous, but if you want to reply to this comment, you can. All right, let's jump into goals. Now for goals, we have a really flexible goals architecture. We support both OKRs and SMART goals. We call them multi-metric goals or single metric goals. Many of you have maybe implemented OKRs. I can put an aspirational objective in. I can put in the key results I want to measure it by. You can use many different targets to measure it, whether that's percentage, number, date, or complete, incomplete. But all employees can set developmental goals or personal goals. If I'm a manager of people, I can set team goals and have my team directly tied to those goals. We find a lot of the engagement goals are developmental goals with the team members attached to them, so that the team can see the things that you're working on as a leader to help develop engagement and experience on that team. We also see developmental goals used to help improve skills and competencies individually. Personal goals are usually more business goals. Again, team goals are where we're trying to focus the team towards specific initiatives and want them updated real time. And as new team members come on, we want them to automatically see those goals. And then organizational goals are maybe my favorite. These are the strategic intents of the organization, and every employee can get access and see these goals. And as you make updates on them, it's almost like marketing to them to say, here's the most important things and here's how we're doing on them. One other thing I'll point out on goals is you can choose whether these goals are public or restricted. We're seeing more and more customers move to public goals for a couple of reasons. One, it improves goal writing when people know that their goals can be seen by others in the organizations. 2, when their updates are made public, others can see those updates on the news feed, which helps drive a culture of we value goals, we value progress on goals, and we value updates on goals. And then lastly, having public goals creates more accountability across the organization. When I see other people updating their goals, I want to update my goals. All right, the last section in the performance area that I want to talk about is recognition. Recognition is so powerful, and it's something that is one of the easiest wins in the organization. It's positive communication. It's creating a culture of positivity and giving people positive performance feedback. And that's why we include that into our performance product. But if to give a recognition, I can give it to one or many people. I can tell a story about what that is. All of these badges are configured to your organization to what your values are. So now people are telling out real life stories of what it is to live out your value, if that's excellence or growth or character. They can also have fun and add images. And then those recognitions get published out to a public channel. And so people can like and comment, and they can actually see what success looks like. And I mentioned this earlier, but a key driver of engagement is if I do great work, am I recognized? And when you get recognition from your peers or somebody else that you're working with across the organization, it feels really good because it feels like you're being seen and valued. All right, let's jump out here, and in our last section here, we got about 8 minutes left. We're going to talk about intelligence. And this is really where we're combining engagement and experience data with performance data to equip you as an HR leader or an HR business partner to go have meaningful conversations with your business partners. And so let's jump back into the platform. And we're going to look at a couple of examples of how we're doing that with analytics. So when I scroll down here, there's 3 reports I want to point to. The usage report we're not going to dive into today, but that's really to help you see the usage across and who's setting goals and who's having one-on-ones. And so you're able to see how your employees are using the product. Recognition, feedback, one-on-ones, and surveys, we've looked at those. Those are roll-up reports, so you can see what's happening with one-on-ones. You can see what's happening with feedback and what types of feedback at an aggregate macro view to help make decisions. We looked at talent reviews. But I want to talk about turnover rate. So this is looking back. We are connected into your HRIS system, so we can see who's coming and who's going from your organization. We're going to look at year-to-date turnover for the organization. And so we're at 20% year-to-date. I can see a list of those employees here. But what's really cool is we can take any of the surveys that you're doing. So we launched a Q3 engagement pulse survey. And we can see some insights about our current employees, how did they respond on those surveys, and about those employees that left the organization. Where are the biggest gaps in their perceptions of our organization based off of the people who left and the people who are here? So I can see easily if I contribute to the organization's success, I'll know I'll be recognized. We've talked about that today. That's a really important thing. Goals and accountabilities are clear to everyone on my team, also important. And lastly, my immediate manager regularly gives me constructive feedback on my job performance. So we're helping drive that. But not only are you able to see that across the organization, you can filter into specific areas of the organization. So all of those things, department, location, are available to you. Next up on our cross-platform intelligence area is flight risk. Now, flight risk is an innovative machine learning model that is built on your employees' data, and it's built on survey data, perception data. How did employees answer our surveys? And what we're doing with flight risk is really helping educate the organization on where we might have turnover issues in the next 6 months. Our machine learning model, if we've identified an employee as high flight risk, that means they're 5 times more likely to leave than a low flight risk employee. So with this report, we're trying to answer 3 questions, and we're answering 2 of those really well today, and on our product roadmap, we'll get to the 3rd here in the next few months. But the first question we're answering is, what is the overall flight risk of the organization? And in this example, it's 13%. The second question we're answering is, where is their flight risk? And we can see operations is our dark red area. This is where we're going to see the biggest areas of flight risk. And so as an HR business partner, I can meet with that area of the organization and talk to them and specifically dive into their survey results and help them think about how can we mitigate turnover. In the future, you'll see that analysis directly on this report where it'll elevate the factors of engagement. We're also going to take the comments from the surveys of those people who we've identified as high flight risk and put those down here so you can see qualitatively what they said in addition to how they answered the survey from a quantitative standpoint. We're super excited from this. It's being received very well by our customers. The third area I want to talk about is performance impact. Now, because we know who's high performing in the organization, we know who's average and below, we can answer those same questions around performance. We can answer questions like, what is the overall performance of our organization? Are we trending up? Are we trending down from the number of employees that have been rated above average on their performance? I can see the areas of the organization on where performance is an issue and where it's not, so I can focus in on those areas to better understand. And then the third area that we're working on is the why, which is why is performance. And we're looking at a number of different things right now. We did a custom analysis for one of our customers where we actually looked at high performers and low performers. Our data science team dug into their data. And one of the things we found was that high performers in that organization were having one-on-ones at least once a month with their manager. That's great. But we also found that low performers were having one-on-ones once a month with their manager. You're probably wondering, Luke, what's in there to know? Well, when we dug deeper, we found that the high-performing employees were aligning around goals in their one-on-ones at least once a month. They were pulling in, they were using the conversation booster to pull in goals into their one-on-ones, where the low performers were not. They were only doing that at 0.2 per month. And so the biggest thing then as an HR partner, that corporation went back to their leaders and said, hey, make sure you're pulling goals into your one-on-ones. If you want your employees to be more performing, higher performing, we should be talking about those goals regularly and aligning around those expectations. Awesome. Well, as we pull in here, I wanted to just mention briefly here, there's, I think, 3 things to do from the presentation today. The first thing is, if you don't have the voice of the employee or you don't have as much data as you'd like around engagement, Dr. Shane McFeely just published the 2020 Engagement Trends Report. It's available in the feed here, and go download that. There's so much great insight across our 1.3 million surveys we did in the last 12 months and the 12,000 companies, where you'll see some general trends that will help improve engagement. The second thing I'll say is download the HBR Analytics Services piece on a winning approach to employee success. Again, this was of HR leaders, and what HR leaders said was a winning approach to employee success. So that's a second place to go. Third, schedule a demo. Talk to one of our experts and see how we can help partner with you to improve employee success across your organization. And I'm going to add a fourth. Go out and vote. If you're based in the United States, I know we got many people on this call that are international, but this next week is an important day in our country. And so get educated, go out and vote, and make your voice be heard. We know that voices matter inside of organizations. It also matters within countries as well. And so get out there and do that. All right, let's jump in and answer some questions here. I'm going to take a peek at maybe some of the questions that have come in. The first question that I see is, what devices are supported by your mobile app? Well, we're both in the Android store and we are also in the iOS Apple store. And so any of those devices that can access those stores, iPads, phones, all those are supported. The next thing I see here as a question is, we still use a 9-box. Do your talent reviews support this framework? Now, we do support a 9-box framework for talent reviews. I don't recommend it. I'd love to have a conversation with you specifically around how we've innovated the 9-box, how we've created, I think, a much more robust way and an agile way for employees to do talent reviews. And so reach out to me. You can email me or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to have that conversation with you on kind of why we innovated on that. Let me see here. It said, Ray asked, is your platform only a performance module? Quantum Workplace has a full suite of performance features, as well as a variety of engagement and pulse survey tools. all of these can work together to fit your needs. And so, yes, it can be modularized. So you can say, I just want to roll out goals, or I just want to roll out one-on-ones, or just surveys. But we think it works really well together. A lot of the times when we implement, we'll implement a module at a time to help with the onboarding of an organization. But we think getting them working all together will help managers, it'll help employees, and it'll help you as HR lead a healthy performance culture. Sheila asked, does performance integrate with AltiPro? Hilton asked, does it integrate with Oracle Fusion HCM? Yes, we haven't met an HR system that we haven't been able to integrate with. We have direct integrations with ADP Marketplace. So if you're an ADP customer, you can find us in the ADP Marketplace. And so we have a data connector there. But all of the HRIS systems we connect with. We had a question come in. Investing in people is key during these COVID times. However, the quality must be guaranteed without bias too, while also increasing D&I. I completely agree with you in that statement. I think our tools really help mitigate bias in a number of different ways. I think, in the annual performance review process, we see bias a lot of times in recency, and the fact that performance reviews are happening one time a year towards the end of the year. And there's other effects, halo effect, rater effect. But recency bias, I think, is the biggest issue. And I think talent reviews, when you can have a manager pause for 3 to 5 minutes every 90 days and jot down their thoughts on performance and then make that available to them when they're doing a performance review, it helps remove some of that recency bias, because I can see, how did this employee actually perform over the whole year, not just at the end of the year. And I think it also helps get bias out of your head. If you're not answering these talent reviews, then that sits in your head and that can't be addressed, it can't be seen. And so part of helping with bias and improving D&I is not only hearing from our employees about their perceptions, but also getting it out of our heads so we know how to address it. All right, we're at time. I want to thank you for joining this live session. It's been fun to talk with you about a winning approach to employee success and how we can help you connect employee success to business success. As I mentioned, if you want to have a deeper conversation or we didn't get to your questions, set up a meeting. We'd love to talk with you and talk more about some of your problems and the ways that we can partner together to achieve business success. Thanks. Have a great day.